Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So as we move into managed care of Medicaid dollars, and of course we have hundreds of thousands of people, state employees that are on the state health care plan, I'm curious then, if we were to pass this amendment, if a woman had what her physician considered a medically necessary termination of the pregnancy to save her life, under this amendment, wouldn't the insurance company be able to deny benefits under the claim and fight that claim?
Representative Baxley.
I think the Constitution would be clearer if the people speak, and you'd have quite a different setting for that scenario. You know, I can't explore every scenario with you that's in your mind, but I think if we set a clear direction of what limitation is, insurance products will conform to what the Constitution requires.
Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Isn't it true, though, if I went in and I had a procedure that my doctor told me was medically necessary, it would be the insurance company that would be fighting my claim to have that procedure covered at a later date, such that all of a sudden I get a bill for $250,000. Maybe it was a complicated procedure. I get a bill for tens, thousands, $100,000 of dollars, and this amendment lets insurance companies fight that claim.
Representative Baxley.
As I'm often reminded in these discussions, you and I are not going to be pregnant, so I don't think you're bringing a relevant discussion.
Members, Representative Logan, you have an announcement. You have an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Janice Klein-Young, Alex and Daniel, Robert Dew from MacArthur South Learning Center are all in the East Gallery. I'd like to welcome them from Miami-Dade County.
Welcome to the Florida House. Representative Randolph, in questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me rephrase that then. My wife, who is on state health care, may go in for a procedure. Would this amendment not allow an insurance company to deny that claim after the procedure? And this is really an insurance bill. The insurance company would be able to deny that claim.
Representative Baxley.
They would need to comply with the Constitution like every other Floridian.
Further questions, Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I wouldn't know that until after the procedure, though.
Representative Baxley.
I don't know when you would know that.
Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the exception for rape or incest, what would be required for me to prove the rape or incest?
Representative Baxley.
Existing law.
Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What's existing law on that?
Representative Baxley.
I couldn't outline that. I'm sure if you call a state attorney, they can outline how they verify rape or incest for you.
Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, you indicated then I have to go to the state attorney's office. So you're asking us to pass a bill and put something on the amendment, and you can't tell me then what I would have to do to prove rape or incest in order of the exception of this bill. Can you tell me, can you tell this body what would have to be done to prove the rape or incest exception?
Representative Baxley.
I'm asking you to let the voters decide if they want to put this in the Constitution, and I think they know what rape and incest are.
Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure I'm getting actual serious answers, policy answers. This is a big policy for the state of Florida. And I believe those voters deserve an answer from you and deserve an answer from this body as to what would qualify for the rape or incest exception. Don't you think the voters, when you're putting this to the voters' opinion, don't you think the voters have a right to determine what this body thought provided that exception?
Representative Baxley.
That's debate, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry.
Further questions? Back to you, Representative Ray Vasalinda.